If you have clicked onto this video, it's because you are concerned about your driving test, and I don't blame you. With the wait times and everything factored in and to how difficult the test is, I understand that your nerves must be through the roof. But I always think if you have a plan, when it comes to you sitting the driving test, you are going to be in a far stronger position. So I'm going to break down the driving test into how I think you should approach it. The very first thing you have is the first 5 minutes. This tends to be the most stressful. You don't know the person sitting next to you. They're wearing a yellow jacket. You know they have the authority to give you a driving license. You've waited ages to get to this point, or you've spent vast amount of money on being there on that particular day, and the stress builds. So what I strongly recommend you do is you make a plan for that first 5 minutes. If there is a tricky junction that you've got to deal with, or a tricky situation that you know is going to be coming up, or there's a pitfall, there's something like there's a blind corner, you've got to make sure that you're checking it properly. You don't want to fail your test in that first 5 minutes. So I'm at Mill Hill Test Centre, and what I'm going to do, I'm actually quite cheeky, I'm in the car park here, so I'm going to get out of here as soon as possible. I don't want to be here when the tests arrive. And I'm going to show you what the first 5 minutes would look like at a test centre like this, and the pitfalls that you might have to deal with, because there's quite a few tricky situations within that first 5 minutes. So the examiner would tell me to drive on when it's safe. So I demonstrate all round checks. I'm going to signal because there's people about, and I'm going to get the car moving. And I move out of test centre. Now the first problem I've got is right in front of me. That bend is tricky. Somebody could be coming the other way. So I'm going to take my time. I'm going to position a little bit to the left in the anticipation that somebody could be coming. And then as I exit the test center, I've got that mirror, and that's telling me what's around the corner in case there's a car entering, and I need to be checking that. I'm also going to make sure that I stick well to the left. Now, if the examiner says at the end of the road turn right, that's probably the hardest thing that you'd have to do at Mill Hill. So I do my mirrors and my signal, and I position so that a vehicle could enter the junction. Now I am incredibly lucky and I'm able to get going straight away, but that particular junction could be tricky right at the start if it's busy, if it's early in the morning. Now I've got a vehicle on my right hand side, I come straight into a roundabout. Now that vehicle on my left is going to enter. I can see that that learner driver is going to be a little bit hesitant, so I can get going. And this is all within the first 5 minutes of your test. You don't know 100% which direction you're going, but prepare for the worst. Think about the worst way you could possibly be leaving that test center, and be fully mentally prepared for what it is that you need to do. Talk to your instructor about what things could possibly go wrong right at the start so that you can get into the flow. Once you've done that first 5 minutes, you're going to start to relax a little bit because the adrenaline will start to ease. Now, I can't guarantee this for everybody, but that first 5 minutes tends to be the most stressful. Make a plan, know what you're doing. Now we're going to move on to about 80% of your test. The basics, moving off, stopping, turning left and turning right. Now, if you are truly ready for your driving test, this should be like bread and butter to you. You're told to turn right here, center mirror, right mirror, indicate right. It's a simple right turn. Just need to get into this filter lane box and then turn. And then enter that new road, new mirrors. It's just a simple road. Yes, I've got the bend. I've got to think about what could be coming the other way, where to position. If I'm asked to pull up on the left, mirror, mirror, signal, and pull up on the left, making sure that I pull up next to a curb. Handbrake, neutral, cancel my signal. Then the examiner says drive on when you're ready. So again, I'm back to my basics. Look around my car, make sure it's safe. I don't need a signal here, so I'm not going to signal. I'm going to drive on. Yes, you're going to be driving on all different types of roads, but it's a huge portion, and you need to know that your basics are strong. So when you're leading up to your driving test, make sure that you're not making silly mistakes. If you're doing observations around the car, make sure you're seeing rather than just looking, not just doing the observations for the examiner. Make sure that your mirror work is good, that your observation and awareness of what's coming up behind you is good. If this is solid within your training, within your lessons with your driving instructor, it's going to be solid on your driving test. You need to make sure you get it to the right level. Otherwise, you can't rely on that 80% in your test. Focus on that. Now, if we move on now to the next 5%, 5% of your test will be complex junctions or tricky situations. The complex junctions, yes, you may only have a couple of those on your driving test. There could be 3, there could be 4. It depends on the route, but you don't tend to have every single junction being complex. So when you come up to a complex junction or complex situation, make sure that you relax, you breathe, don't feel rushed. At the end of the road here, I'm going to turn left. So I check my center mirror, my left mirror. I'm going to signal left, back to my basics. Slightly wide junction here. So I'm not going to rush this if I can't see. I have to lean forwards to get a better view. It's looking pretty clear. There's a black car. There's a black car coming at speed. I'm not going to go. And behind this black car, it's clear. So I get moving. Now the examiner says at the roundabout, you're going to turn right, third exit. And now I'm approaching a complex situation. And this being the apex corner is quite tricky. So again, I've done videos on this. If you're interested in a tutorial on this particular video, I'll put a card up here in the top left-hand corner or the right-hand corner of your screen. I'll give you some more information, but I'll demonstrate it today. So I'm going to be turning right, third exit. I haven't actually put my signal on yet, but I don't think this is going to be detrimental to anybody just yet. So as I move off here now, I'll do my center mirror, my right mirror, and I'm going to signal right. And if I can squeeze through here, but I don't want to go through just yet because it's kind of forcing me through onto the other side of the road. Didn't want to do that. And I come up to the junction and it's quite busy today. So I've got to get across into that right-hand position over there, which is manageable, provided I'm ready. So I'm looking at the light sequences here. So the lights are obviously green for these guys coming ahead down this dual carriageway, and those guys over there are sitting at a red light. Slight issue here on my left. Now they've stopped. Is this going to be an opportunity? It is an opportunity, so I can get across. Now I just check these lights are still green. They are still green. I'm in the right lane. I count the first exit. I come round. Now this filters me to the middle. Now I could move to the left lane, but I don't need to. Center mirror, left mirror, indicate left. So I'm now in the middle lane for exit. And if I'm in the middle lane to exit from this roundabout, which is totally fine, I just need to make sure I don't drift across onto this side here. Now that van is taking up a little bit of room. And I'm going to move back to the left. So center mirror, left mirror, indicate left. If it's a complex junction, it's a complex junction. A tricky situation, which would also be put into this category, would be that you're coming up to part of that 80% of a simple left or right turn, and you're coming up to the junction. There's a parked car right on the mouth of the junction. That now becomes a tricky situation. Don't rush it. Don't think that the examiner thinks you should rush that situation. Take your time. Trust your ability. Trust your judgment. Don't second guess yourself. Now I'm coming up to a slightly complex situation. So let's say the examiner says, I want you to follow the road signs to Edgware. So I'm going to break this down into two turns, turning left here, center mirror, left mirror, indicate left. And I'm looking to the right to make sure it's clear. Now, it's also quite a tricky junction. This van in front of me is kind of making a little bit of a mistake. It's all right. He's kind of got himself in a position to turn left, and now he wants to turn right. It's now clear to my right, and I move immediately into the right. I look back to the right, it's clear. Come around this roundabout, and again, center mirror, left mirror, and I can exit. Now I can apply a signal there if I want to exit, but it is a mini roundabout, so it's not 100% necessary that I need to do that. Identify the slightly more complex situations. And if you're approaching a complex situation, A, take your time, and B, anticipate. Then 5% is going to be reversing. When it comes to the reverse, you have one reverse. I'm going to call this 5%. It's probably not 5%, and again, don't hold it against me with all these numbers. Some of these might blend into other areas. You've only got one reverse to do on your driving test. Put your reverse hat on and tell yourself, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing full all-round observation while I'm doing my reverse. Now that includes if I have to do a correction. Expect to make a mistake when it comes to the judgment. If you're expecting the worst situation, then you are more prepared to manage it when it happens. What can quite often happen is you're doing the reverse, you need to do a correction, you now need to reverse the car again, you don't do any checks around your car, and something comes and you miss it. And now you're reverse. You don't want to mess this up. I'm going to read the road markings, see that I've got to come round to the left. Again, I'm in a car park, it looks like it's pretty tame. There could be somebody there in the way. You don't want to come rushing around corners. Do reverse bay park to the left or to the right, finishing off in between the lines. I could signal, but there's just no need. I'm going to stick it in reverse, immediately telling vehicles behind that I want to reverse. And this is where I put my reverse hat on. I want to make sure that I'm doing full all-round effective observation. So I'm looking all the way around the car, making sure it's nice and safe. I've demonstrated that now to the examiner. I do a little bit of rear window action. I always think that's quite a nice thing to do. And then I'm now looking for my reference point. My reference point is coming up. It's about halfway down my door there. So I lock my wheel, I pause, look in the mirror, look over my shoulder, making sure that I'm doing all the observation that I need to do. I can see that learner car that's now come out. I'm aware of them. I look at them, they're kind of waiting. I'm in the way anyway. So I come round, I want to get myself nicely lined up with the bays. I get my wheels nice and straight. And then I rear window, I've got a tree behind me so I can't go too far back. Handbrake, neutral, and I'm done. I didn't allow the reverse park or reverse bay park to go against me. There are only two categories you're being tested on when it comes to reverse: control and observation. So control, you need to practice, you need to make sure that you can do the maneuver, whatever maneuver it is. But when it comes to the observation, you have one shot to demonstrate to the examiner that you understand the risks and the dangers of reversing. Regardless of whether you're reverse parking in the middle of a car park, completely surrounded by nothing, still do the observation because you're demonstrating to the examiner that you understand the risks of reversing. And then the last bit is the last 5 minutes. You're now probably going to start recognizing the roads around the test center. You're going to notice that you're coming back to test center. Start thinking about, oh, I wonder how well I've done, or I think I've done okay. No, you haven't finished yet. Stay in the game. That last 5 minutes, focus. Make sure everything is neat and clean. And then at the end of the road here, I'm going to turn left. And this, again, is that last 5 minutes. This could be one of the last junctions I'm going to do on my driving test. So I'm not going to mess it up. There's a bus coming. It's 50-50. I'm not going to take it. I'm going to wait. If it's a 50-50 situation, it's not worth going. There's another bus coming, 2 vehicles. Now I'm thinking maybe possibly behind the red car, but now there's a black car. So I wait. Now there's a white car. There's no one behind me putting me under pressure, but I'm not going to take a gap that just does not feel right. That would be a risk coming towards the end of my test. And if there is simply traffic after traffic, if there's car after car coming, don't feel like you've got to be pushed out onto the junction, because you just simply do not. Behind the motorbike, there is now a big gap. My patience is rewarded, and I go. That would come down to that 5% of tricky junctions. It's a simple right turn. It should be part of the 80%, but it's not, because it's busy. Don't feel bullied or rushed into doing something that's just not right. I'm going to follow the road ahead here on the mini roundabout. It's blind. I could put this in that 5% because I can't see. This guy's turning left. The motorbike says it's turning left, but I don't trust that until I see the wheels turn. They turn, I drive on. Now, quite often at Mill Hill, they don't go back into test center. They pull up on the road up here. So I'm going to do my last junction. So turning right, center mirror, right mirror, indicate right, and I move into this filter lane box. It's fine for me to cross those hatch markings because the lines are broken. Last turn, I can judge that. I can easily make that. And then the examiner says, find somewhere to pull up on the left. So I'm done. I check my mirrors, center mirror, left mirror, indicate left, move into this parking spot. I start to breathe, handbrake, neutral, cancel my signal, switch my engine off, and I am done. That is the end of my test. Now, if you break all that down and you actually compartmentalize everything, you can manage your test in stages. Don't let your driving test nerves steal your opportunity. Make a plan, put it together. If this video has been of any value to you, hit that like button, subscribe if you like more content, and I will see you in the next one. Get well out. Oh, and good luck. You got this. Get well out.